If you're sitting there feeling like the breakup just ripped the rug out from under your feet, you're not alone. And I mean that literally. You see, feeling completely isolated and alone after a breakup is one of the most common things guys go through. It's that weird mix of emptiness and frustration, right? You start realizing maybe you put all your eggs in that one relationship basket and now you've got nothing left. You look around thinking, who's actually here for me? And then it hits you. You made your ex the center of your universe. I've been there, bro. I remember being in my kitchen at 2 a.m. just stirring honey into oatmeal. Don't ask. Just thinking, why the hell do I feel like no one even sees me? And that's when I knew something had to change. I realized my world had gotten way too small. And if I didn't build something bigger, I'd just fall into the same trap all over again. You see, we've got to talk about male loneliness. Statistically, guys are way lonelier than we admit. More than half of young men say nobody really knows them. And that includes a massive chunk of guys between 18 and 23. You see, when you're going through a breakup, that loneliness just hits you like a train. You feel like the only way to fill that void is with the next girl or the next distraction. That's what I did at first. I dove into work, hit the gym like a maniac, started dating casually, thinking it would all fix me. Spoiler, it didn't. The loneliness doesn't disappear, it just hides, and it comes roaring back at 2 a.m. when you're messing with a jar of peanut butter. Now, if you're here because you're feeling unseen and forgotten, I get it. But here's the truth, that loneliness is trying to tell you something. It's not a life sentence, it's a call to action. And here's why dumping on the next woman never works. I mean, let's be blunt. If you think the solution is to find someone new and pour all your unresolved pain onto her, you're just setting yourself up for another crash. Women are not your therapists. Overloading a new relationship with baggage you never dealt with, that's just unfair to her. And it's unfair to you. There comes a point where you just have to take ownership of your own stuff. You need a space where you can say, man, I'm hurting, I'm lonely, I'm angry, and without expecting your partner to fix it. That's where the brotherhood comes in. That's where journaling and personal growth comes in. That's how you stop being emotionally codependent on the next woman. And this is the night that I realized I was my own worst enemy. You see, after my last breakup, I did the whole I'm fine act. I went out with buddies, pretended I was thriving. But one night, just lying there awake after another failed attempt at sleeping, I just found myself in my tiny living room, popcorn on the floor, random movie playing on Netflix, and I picked up my phone to message her, paused, and realized I didn't have a single friend I could call who'd actually understand. Not one. I had built my entire life around my relationship. When it ended, there was nothing left. That night I decided enough is enough. I needed to rebuild from the ground up, starting with me. And I guess here's the business lesson that smacked me in the face. The crazy part, running a business taught me more about relationships than any book. When I juggled multiple business ideas, I never committed and they all failed. I thought spreading myself thin protected me. If one idea had tanked, I had backups. That sound familiar? See, that's exactly what guys do in dating. Spinning plates, juggling multiple women. And the result, you don't invest deeply in any of them. You never learn to grow when it gets hard. So eventually, I picked one business. I'm going all in. I'm building systems. I'm nurturing it, and it's starting to flourish. It's starting to thrive. That's what you need in a relationship. Choose, commit, build, not spin plates, and definitely not pour your trauma into every woman that you meet. And here's the three pillars that pulled me back. Here's what actually saved me. I call them the three pillars, and for guys that have been following me for a while know what it is: stoic mind, athletic body, magnetic presence. You got your stoic mind, which is owning your pain. I stopped lying to myself. Stoicism taught me you can't control everything, but you can control how you respond to everything. So I started journaling every morning. Some days it was just raw rants, I miss her. I hate this. I feel empty. Just getting it out, helped me see these patterns, like how my mood tanked after checking in her, social media. So I stopped. I practiced negative visualizations. I imagined being single forever and realized that I'd survive. That took power away from the fear. I also started meditating. Thought it was woo woo, but it turns out it was just one of the best things that I ever did. It taught me to breathe through cravings and late night urges. And you've got athletic body. Sweat with people who gets it. The gym saved me, but not just solo lifting, running, high rocks, boxing, suffering with other men, laughing that you get after a good session with your mate. That made me feel human again. Studies show that gym memberships drop loneliness by 35%, and I can vouch for that. When you sweat with a tribe, that emptiness shrinks. You feel alive again. And then thirdly, you've got magnetic presence. Be more than a paycheck. You see, here's the thing. Money alone doesn't make you magnetic. I've seen wealthy guys lose in their relationships. They lose their wives, their partners. Why? They were one dimensional. Work, sleep, work, no hobbies, no humor, no presence. Building presence means building layers, cooking, traveling, learning new skills. Not for her, but for you. When you enjoy your life, when you're multidimensional, you're magnetic. Actually makes me think about the day that I almost wrote off. Not long ago, I woke up late. I ate garbage, took a day off. The old me would have said, screw it, I'll fix it tomorrow. But instead, I gave myself 3 wins: sun for 30 minutes, lift for 45 minutes, and 2 liters of water. I checked them off, and suddenly momentum came back. I did emails, cooked a real meal. That's what momentum does. It stacks fast. And you also need to talk to yourself like you talk to a friend. Now, this might sound a bit weird, but I literally talk to myself like I'm two people. It could be the Gemini in me. You've got two sides, two personalities, I don't know. But one side wants to binge Netflix. The other wants to grow. If I shame the lazy side, he rebels. If I negotiate kindly, he listens. All right, we messed up, but let's fix it. Today we do one thing. Tomorrow we do better. Treat yourself like a stubborn little brother, firm but kind. It works. Now, here's some practical steps if you're in the thick of it. Here's what I tell to my younger self face to face. 1, admit the loneliness out loud. 2, stop checking her socials. Delete it if you have to. 3, journal daily for 2 weeks. Just dump it all out. 4, move your body. Sweat. Do it with other men if you can. 5, call a friend. Make plans and keep them. 6, learn something new. Stretch your brain. 7, define the partner that you want. Whether it's values, lifestyle, future, just write it all out. Loneliness isn't a life sentence. Loneliness sucks. I won't sugarcoat it. It sucks. But it's also a signal. It's your system telling you that something is off. So I used mine to rebuild my life, to sharpen my mind, to strengthen my body, and expand my presence. So if you want to jumpstart, I've built a free 7-day masculine reset. It's, again, the exact system that I used to get out of that post-breakup hole. Links in the description. But even if you don't grab it, take what we talked about today and run with it. Build your tribe, sharpen your mind, challenge your body, and be real with yourself. That's where real magic happens. Just keep your head up, brother. You're stronger than you think. Catch you guys in the next one.